Hello to my fellow Disney fan. I'm your host, Disney Dingus, and today is episode 2 of Disney Dingus Daily. So, we got a couple of topics to talk about today, and after we get those, if we have people here in the live stream, we will, maybe if you want to, have a bit of a live chat and just talk about whatever you want to talk about. So I just want to make sure that I'm public here, that everything's good. Okay, so today we got to talk about the Mandalorian Chapter 5. I'm going to review that for you and let you guys know about it. So what I'm going to do with these reviews for both these episodes today is basically, when you're live, technical difficulties. Basically what I'm going to do with both of these reviews that I have in the episode today is that I'll go over them at first, non-spoilery. I won't have any spoilers in the review, and then after that, I'll talk about some spoilers, talk about some things in the review. And am I not live to this channel? I am definitely live. For some reason on my phone, it's not saying that I'm live. Sorry guys, some technical difficulties here. I don't know what is going on. So let me just figure this out really fast. So that's what I'll do for this one. I'm also going to review episode 5 of High School Musical, the series. Also, then we have some things to talk about regarding Star Wars and everything surrounding that. So we have John Boyega saying that Anakin Skywalker is more powerful than Rey. And then we also have that Disney, in one of the more recent featurettes for Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, forgot about the prequel trilogy. And then finally, we have a spin-off to Aladdin coming. So, first off here is the Mandalorian Chapter 5 review. So, Mandalorian Episode 5, Chapter 5, called Gunslinger. I really, really enjoyed this episode. Now, I haven't been the biggest fan of the Mandalorian so far. I mean, I haven't hated the show. I haven't disliked it. I still like the show. But I haven't been as big of a fan as other people about it because I think, to me at least, it's kind of out of character for a bounty hunter, let alone a Mandalorian bounty hunter, to care so much about a little kid. And yes, I know, I understand that the Mandalorian was a foundling, so he has, sympathy for this Baby Yoda. However, it just still feels a little bit out of character for me, for him to do that. And also, to me, it just seems like they're banking on the cuteness of Baby Yoda. It seems like every time they have him on screen, it's just, look how cute he is, look how cute he is, look how cute he is. I think I would have much less problem with it if Baby Yoda wasn't so cute, if it was just like, a normal kid, a regular kid, even, like a Twi'lek kid, or someone that wasn't basically a baby Gizmo, that someone isn't there just for the cuteness. But I did enjoy this episode quite a bit. Now, the opening fight here, I liked a lot. The opening dog fight in space, I liked that quite a bit. It did feel a bit weird to me, a bit clunky, but then you have to realize it is a TV show still. It's not full-on movie, so it's not going to have full-on movie budget. So I got over that pretty fast. I did enjoy the opening dog fight there. And I guess we're kind of into it now. So I guess, alright, I'll say my thoughts really fast. So, the acting in it I thought was great. I think the guest stars in this were really great. And even though this did feel like more of a filler episode, I will agree with people when they say this felt like a filler episode. I felt like episode 2 was also extremely filler. And I felt like this episode, even though it was filler, it was still, to me at least, kind of exciting and kind of cool. I'll get more into that when I get into spoilers, but I would definitely recommend this episode. I feel like the only complaint that I have about this episode, and really the series in general, are the episodes are way too short. Like, they could easily combine 2 episodes into one. Because when you have a 8-episode series, one, to me at least, they shouldn't be 30 minutes. You should have hour episodes, or close to hour episodes for all 8 episodes, and there shouldn't be any filler episodes, so we shouldn't even be discussing that episode 2 and episode 5 were both filler episodes, because you have an 8-episode series here. There shouldn't be any filler. But to me also, there shouldn't be the episodes that are this short, because you only have 8 episodes, so tell as much story as you can. So that's my brief, non-spoilery thoughts. So now getting into some spoilers. Pit droids are back. Pit droids were really cool to see this episode. This episode is on Tatooine, which was really great. this episode is basically a fan service episode. There's no getting around it. It was basically all fan service, but I was all here for it. I loved the fan service part of it, and I think that's why I like this episode more than episode 2, even though both episodes are filler. I felt like this episode, among something else I'll talk about in a little bit, was the fan service was just really exciting to me. So the pit droids were really great, and the fact they're playing Sabacc was really fun, and I love this character too. I'm forgetting her name in the episode, but I thought her, I'm just call her Star Wars Ripley, because she basically looks like Ripley from Alien. She was really fun. She was a great character too. Also, she's the secretary in Elf. Jon Favreau made Elf, so it was a cool connection there. But I like the pit droids. I like that connection back to the prequels, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here, a little bit later in this episode. I also really enjoy that he went back to the cantina. That was really cool to me. And I also found it really interesting how clear, obviously, in episode 4 in A New Hope, they didn't serve droids there, and the droid is working there, and there are droids working there. And I thought that was interesting, because the reason why that droids weren't allowed in the cantina, and really in many places in the original trilogy, we saw that also in Solo, was the fact that during the prequel trilogy, it was all battle droids everywhere, and battle droids decimated planets and killed parents and civilizations. So once the Separatists were gone, a lot of people didn't like droids and didn't want droids around their businesses. But now, since this is pre-Empire, pre-Return of the Jedi, or post-Empire, post-Return of the Jedi, it makes more sense that droids would be allowed in more places and specifically working here. I also like that this specific model of droid, I'm blanking on the model, I used to know it. I'm blanking on the model, but this specific model of droid is in Return of the Jedi at Jabba's palace. He's the one in the droid torture chamber that talks to 3PO. That was really neat. It was really cool to see the cantina back. And this new character too, I'm forgetting his name. Not really not a fantastic character, not a memorable character, clearly, since I can't remember his name. He was a fun little character though. But the Tusken Raiders, this whole scene with the Tusken Raiders wasn't really necessary. Like, I'm watching it and I'm like, alright, what does this have to do with anything? Why is this necessary? Why is this important? It wasn't. It really did nothing to move the episode along. However, I did enjoy it still. It was cool to see Tusken Raiders, and I think it was also cool because it's like, if you think about it, if the Mandalorian and this other bounty hunter, which I'm forgetting the name of, are going through the Dune Sea, it makes complete sense they would run into Tusken Raiders. Like, I probably wouldn't even have thought about that if they didn't include the Tusken Raiders, but now that they did, I'm thinking, well, what was the point? It makes complete sense that they would include the Tusken Raiders, because if you're going through the Dune Sea, you would. More on the Dune Sea in a second. So, also, I don't know why there's no picture here of, what's her name's character? Ming-Na's character. But Ming-Na Wen, I thought her character was great. I liked her quite a bit. But that also gets to one of my main complaints about this series as a whole. The fact that they are underusing talent so much. Episode 1, you have IG-11. He's a great character. He was so cool. Voiced by Taika Waititi. Dead. Then you have Nick Nolte. He's gone after episode 2. Episode 3, you have... was there somebody in episode 3? I can't remember episode 3. But episode 4, you have Gina Carano. She was fantastic. She's gone. Now you have Ming-Na Wen, who's also incredible. She's dead within 2 minutes. And we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season. We know that Giancarlo Esposito is going to be in this season as Moff Gideon, who I'll talk about in a second here as well. Are you just going to waste him too? Giancarlo Esposito is one of, in my opinion, the best actors working right now. And they're going to waste him too, it seems like. Waste is a strong word. Underused. I'll use the word underused. That word makes more sense here. They are underusing a lot of great talent and a lot of great characters. And I was so excited to see Ming-Na Wen in Star Wars in this series, and we barely get to see her. So that was a bit disappointing to me. However, I want to talk about these boots here. Who is this mysterious character? In my mind, there are only 2 answers. One answer, the first answer, that is just Moff Gideon. It's Giancarlo Esposito's character. As you can see, he also has a cape. He was, I believe, an ex-Death Trooper. He's like a leader of the Death Troopers, so maybe that's what's making that clanking noise when he's walking. And like I said, we do know he's going to come up very soon in this series, somewhere down the line in the next 3 episodes, or Yeah, 3 episodes. So it's very possible that this could be him. However, I feel like there is an answer that would be more exciting. I don't know how more realistic it'll be. I don't know if it's the better answer. It's the one that's going to happen. But it's Boba Fett. For multiple reasons. One, because in Empire Strikes Back, when Boba Fett is walking into the room where everybody eats together, it makes the same kind of cowboy boot sound. So check that off the list. Number 2, he does wear a sort of cape. However, we must acknowledge that his armor was actually given and sold off to somebody else. Now, I don't know exactly who. I did not read that book that was addressed in, but I did read online that his armor no longer belongs to him. We also don't know 100% if he did survive the Sarlacc pit, but I would assume if his armor did, most likely he did as well. Number 3, the Dune Sea is where the Sarlacc is, I believe. So, if he's going to get out of the Sarlacc pit, then it would make sense he would be walking around the Dune Sea, or at least staying on Mos Eisley, staying on Tatooine. So he would probably have a tracking fob too. He would probably have a bounty, and he would go after Fenric, I think her name was. So it would make sense why he would be there. He was just there later than the Mandalorian was. Number 4, Dave Filoni, I believe, loves Boba Fett. Clone Wars had later in the Clone Wars had a decently strong Boba Fett presence. And Dave Filoni did work very closely with Jon Favreau on the series. Dave Filoni also happened to write and direct this episode. Not only direct, he also wrote this episode. So, I think if anybody's going to bring back Boba Fett, it would be Dave Filoni. So, is the boot character Boba Fett? Well, I think it's a fun example and a fun character to think about and to talk about. Could this be Boba Fett? I think there is definitely a chance it is Boba Fett. We do have to remember, though, that his armor did get sold away and did get sold to another bounty hunter, so it's possible it's just that other bounty hunter. However, maybe Boba Fett found the bounty hunter, killed him, and got his armor back. That's possible, too. And we gotta remember that it is possible that, 1, Boba Fett is dead, and 2, it could just be Moff Gideon. Something I do want to talk about, though, something I do want to address, is Dave Filoni writing and directing this episode. Dave Filoni also directed the first episode of this series. I thought the first episode of the series was the greatest thing to come out of Star Wars since Return of the Jedi. I love that first episode so much. And then this episode, episode 5, is my second favorite episode of the season. And what this episode shows me, not only is Dave Filoni great at making live-action Star Wars, shows me that he knows Star Wars more than anybody. You gotta remember, Dave Filoni trained directly under George Lucas. So, if you want to think of it, George Lucas is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Dave Filoni is Anakin Skywalker. Now, George Lucas left. So, this goes back to the line in A New Hope. When I left you, I was but the learner, now I am the master. I feel like that Dave Filoni is the master. Now, I'm a huge fan of Kathleen Kennedy. I'll talk about this again in a little bit. So, I don't necessarily want her to leave. However, there will come a time when she is no longer the head of Star Wars and head of Lucasfilm. I full-heartedly believe that Dave Filoni has to take that spot. He needs to be the person to replace Kathleen Kennedy whenever she leaves the role. Leaves that spot because he knows Star Wars better than anybody. He knows Star Wars better than Kathleen Kennedy. He knows Star Wars better than me. He knows Star Wars better than you. The only person that knows Star Wars better than Dave Filoni is George Lucas himself. And that kind of person needs to be in charge of Star Wars. And it's been proven by both of these episodes that he, 1, knows how to make fantastic live action, so he would be a great producer on these movies and give great tips to these directors. Hell, maybe even direct episodes himself and direct TV shows himself. But I think, to me, it just comes down to the fact that he trained directly under George Lucas. Now, I know George Lucas appointed and requested Kathleen Kennedy to take his place, and that's fine. He didn't necessarily request Dave Filoni. But I feel like if Kathleen Kennedy said no, or if he had to have a second choice, it would have been Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni was the Padawan. Now he is the Jedi Master. He should be the one to take over Kathleen Kennedy if and when she ever leaves. That was just a thought that came to my mind after watching this episode, so I wanted to mention that here. But overall, I did really enjoy this episode of The Mandalorian. I thought it was great. Still a filler episode. I would still love to see less filler episodes in this season. I did enjoy the fact that this was more of just them going on a bounty and tracking down a bounty and less of a, oh look, it's Baby Yoda episode. I think that's why I love the first episode so much, because it was more just about them going through a bounty and tracking down their bounty. And that's really what I want from season 2. I just want every episode to be an individual bounty, or every 2 episodes be an individual bounty, and just show Mandalorian going through the bounty. That could be really exciting. It could be really gritty. Could be really Western. So I really enjoyed this episode. What do you think about it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And why? And who do you think is the character in the boots? I'll probably make a full episode, a full segment talking about who I think the character is in the boots. Let me know in the comment section down below. All right, now to a topic and a segment that I got really excited about when I saw it. And it's funny we should talk about this before we're going to talk about the next topic is going to get me really emotional. So let's talk about this first. So John Boyega, the actor who plays Finn, a while ago, he put out on social media that Anakin would beat Rey. He would beat anybody. And I agree. I think 100% that Anakin would beat anybody. Now, a bit of a disclaimer. I'm the biggest Anakin fan you'll ever find. Anakin has been my favorite character of all time, not just from Star Wars, of all time, basically all my life. I love Anakin. You will never find a bigger Anakin fan than me. Besides, probably, Hayden Christensen, his mother, and George Lucas. So seeing someone else, especially someone who works in the sequel trilogy, and a main character in the sequel trilogy, say Anakin can beat Rey, I think is really cool and really exciting. Now, John Boyega was just on an episode of Hot Ones, and he backed that up. He backed that up saying Anakin is more powerful than Rey. And I think, look, we all know that Rey is the main character of the sequel trilogy, right? I think we all know that, unfortunately, I'm going to talk about this in a second here. Unfortunately, it's a long shot that we see Anakin in The Rise of Skywalker. This does, at least at the time, it made me a little bit more excited for The Rise of Skywalker because John Boyega himself, a sequel trilogy actor, is saying that Anakin is more powerful than Rey, that he's the most powerful Star Wars character. And look, no hate to Rey. I think Rey's a fantastic character. She's great. And I have enjoyed everything that Disney has put out so far. But, like I said, being the biggest Anakin fan, it's always cool to see other people, especially actors like this, appreciate Anakin and show love for Anakin. And even though it's a long shot that Anakin will even be in this trilogy and physically appear in The Rise of Skywalker, it was cool to see that John Boyega not only said that, but backed him up in that. So that was really neat to see. But what do you think? Do you think that Anakin is more powerful than Rey? Or do you think, no, Rey is more powerful than Anakin? Let me know in the comment section down below. Okay. Now, excuse me if I get kind of emotional during this this segment here. Get kind of heated during this segment here. And then we got 2 more segments until we get to the live chat with you guys if there's anybody still in this stream. So I want to preface this with saying I love Disney. I love Kathleen Kennedy. I love Lucasfilm. I love Star Wars. That's never going to change. One of my dreams is to play a lead character in a Star Wars movie, specifically a Jedi or Sith, but play a lead character in a Star Wars movie. And that's never going to change. However, I am very frustrated with both Disney and Lucasfilm because they released a featurette for The Rise of Skywalker, a new one, talking about family and talking about how important family is to Star Wars with the actors behind the scenes and all that stuff. And I'll leave a link to it in the description down below if you want to check it out after you watch this episode. And on its own, it's a really touching, really nice featurette. It is. It was nice to see it. But there is one glaring thing that I don't know if they forgot to add it in there. I don't know if they did it on purpose. But the prequel trilogy is missing from that. There are no behind-the-scenes footage of the prequel trilogy actors having fun. There is no mention of the prequel trilogy in there at all, when we know that there is plenty of behind-the-scenes footage with Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman all having fun together behind the scenes of the prequel trilogy. We know that Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor were really like brothers and were really close while filming the prequel trilogy. And none of that was in there. None of that was in there. Which, one, as someone who grew up with the prequel trilogy, I like the original trilogy more, but someone who grew up with the prequel trilogy, someone who loves the prequel trilogy, and someone whose favorite character is Anakin Skywalker, who I should explain is the most important and the main Star Wars Skywalker saga character. Seeing that Disney and Lucasfilm so conveniently forgot to include them at all in this featurette is very frustrating. Now, maybe they're doing that on purpose, so we don't have them in our head, so maybe Anakin does appear in Rise of Skywalker and surprise us all, and we're like, no way, that's awesome. However, I don't think that's the case. Which means that, at least right now, to me, it looks like Disney doesn't care about the prequel trilogy and doesn't want us to be reminded about the prequel trilogy at all. And that is incredibly frustrating and incredibly scary going into what they're marketing as the final Skywalker saga movie, the movie to wrap up 40 years of movies. And you can't do that properly without addressing and connecting to the prequel trilogy, right? You can't do that without properly addressing and connecting to the 3 movies that give backstory to the main Skywalker saga character, the character that Star Wars is all about. And the fact that they so conveniently forgot to include the prequel trilogy in this featurette tells me that that's not going to happen, that Anakin is not going to appear in Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker, that the only minor connection to the prequel trilogy will be Palpatine, which is even probably they're just trying to connect more back to Return of the Jedi and the fact that Anakin and Luke killed him in Return of the Jedi, so he wants revenge for that, not even connecting back to the prequel trilogy, to me is just incredibly frustrating. Incredibly frustrating. Now look, if I wasn't as big of a prequel fan as I am, if I wasn't as big of an Anakin fan as I am, maybe it wouldn't impact me as much. If you're not a prequel fan, and if you're not an Anakin fan, let me know if this frustrates you at all, or if you just don't care. But as someone who loves the prequel trilogy, loves the Phantom Menace, I think Attack of the Clones is the most underrated movie of all time. Someone who Revenge of the Sith is my favorite movie of all time. Anakin is my favorite character of all time. The fact that it seems like that none of those movies are going to connect to this movie. The fact that Anakin is not going to have some kind of pivotal role in finally defeating the Sith. The Chosen One. The Chosen One. The main character of the Star Wars Skywalker saga. Okay? Is not going to have a pivotal role in wrapping up his story is bonkers to me. It blows my mind. It does. Now, like I said, I love Disney. I always will. I love Captain Kennedy. I always will. I love Star Wars. I always will. Like I said, my biggest dream is to star in as a Jedi or Sith in a Star Wars movie. That'll always be my dream. I will never have bad blood against any of the people working at Star Wars or Disney or Lucasfilm right now. I won't. But man, is this infuriating as hell. And it'll probably only get worse after The Rise of Skywalker comes out, because then it'll be confirmed that, yep, Anakin's not in it. And Anakin, even though he's the chosen one, and even though he's the main character, nope, he's not going to wrap up his own story. Because who's getting who here? Star Wars is Anakin's story. George Lucas has said that on multiple occasions. Yeah, Luke was in the original trilogy. Yeah, Luke was the main focus of the original trilogy, sure. But that was only because he was the person to help Anakin be redeemed. Luke isn't the chosen one. Anakin is. There's no getting around that. Anakin, from George Lucas himself, is the main character. The prequel trilogy. 3 movies in Star Wars. 3. Not just one. It's not like you're just forgetting Solo or you're forgetting Rogue One, That's fine. 3 movies in the Skywalker saga. 3 movies, let I remind you, that many, a whole generation of people got introduced to Star Wars with. A whole generation of people. There are probably as many people who are introduced to Star Wars with the original trilogy than there is with the prequel trilogy. They're probably roughly the same amount. And the same can be said with the sequel trilogy. That would be like in 10 years, if they make a new trilogy, right? And they're saying that, or they're marketing it as, the characters you love, or connects to the stories of the past, and they just forget about the sequel trilogy. That would make no sense. It would make no sense not connect to the sequel trilogy. So it makes no sense not connect to the prequel trilogy. It just frustrates me so much. Now look, maybe we watch the movie, maybe we watch Rise of Skywalker, right? And it's a fantastic movie, and it works on its own fine without there being Anakin or the prequel trilogy in it. Will I still be a little hurt? Of course, because, like I said, Anakin is my favorite character of all time, so I'll have some bias towards that. But I'll get over it. Maybe you watch the movie, and maybe it connects heavily into the prequel trilogy, and Anakin is a pivotal role in this movie. In that case, that's fantastic. Man, is it frustrating right now. Before seeing The Rise of Skywalker, seeing that this movie probably isn't going to connect to the prequel trilogy at all, the fact that Anakin probably is not going to be in this movie, let alone Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is not only getting his own show soon, but is reprising the role with Ewan McGregor. Why would you not want to remind people of that? Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan is one of the most fan-favorite characters of Star Wars. Regardless of how people feel about the prequel trilogy, the vast majority of people love Ewan as Obi-Wan. Why would you not want to capitalize on that? I don't understand. Like I said, maybe after we watch the movie, maybe after we watch Rise of Skywalker, we'll understand. And we'll think, you know what? If they did include Anakin or any prequel connection in there, then it wouldn't have flowed as good, or it wouldn't have been as good of a story. And, that's totally possible. That's totally possible. I'm leaving all of my pre-expectations at the door when I go see Rise of Skywalker. And that's completely possible. But as of right now, it's really frustrating. Anyway, I've gone on about that long enough. What do you think about it? Do you think it's fine that there's no prequel trilogy, or I should say probably no prequel trilogy or Anakin connection in The Rise of Skywalker? Or do you think, no, you're 100% right, this is frustrating? Let me know your thoughts. Alright, so moving on to the Disney side of this episode, we have High School Musical, the musical, this series, episode 5 came out on Friday. So again, just like with the Mandalorian, I'll first go through my non-spoiler reactions and thoughts about this episode, and then I'll go into some I guess we'll say spoilers. I mean, there's not really spoilers for these kind of episodes like there are with Mandalorian, but I am loving this show. I am absolutely loving the show. It's currently my favorite thing on Disney Plus. It's just, I think the acting's great. I think the writing's great. I think the way it's shot is great. I think just the feel and tone of these episodes are great. And this episode is no different. And I think that everything that happened in this episode, I wasn't necessarily expecting to happen, but I liked it all. And it's just the same thing that I've been saying about these episodes in the past. You know, it's the acting is great, the writing was great, and the way it felt was great. Now, the one problem that I had for this episode is not really a major problem, just like a minor thing, is that one thing that I think is so great about this show is that, yeah, it's a musical, you know, they're singing, and there's nothing wrong with musicals, but I felt that this kind of musical was more refreshing because it's not like a musical in the sense of people just randomly sing and dance. They when they sing and when they do dance is when they're, you know, when they're practicing and when they're rehearsing for the High School Musical, their school play, their school musical. In this episode, there is a scene where they just dance and everybody knows the choreography to it, which is a bit of that feels weird, but overall it was cool. I liked it. I liked the episode. I'm excited for where it goes next. And I think this just goes along more with The Mandalorian too. These episodes are way too short. They're way too short. You can easily combine 2 episodes into one and have it be fine and just have more episodes. Or just have these episodes be longer. Combine these 2 episodes into one and still have 8 episodes, but just make them longer. And I would prefer that. I think, again, in an 8 episode series, episodes can't be like 27 minutes, and I can't be thinking, okay, well, we could have just combined 2 episodes and made it one and had another episode with these characters. I shouldn't be thinking that. And that's what I'm thinking after watching these episodes. So even though I love the episode again, it's a great episode, great show, everything's great about it, I just can't help but thinking, well, why are these episodes so short? But going into spoilers here, we have it's a homecoming dance. So these two being a couple, Gabriella and EJ going to the dance together was I was nervous about it because I don't like either of these characters, but everything turns out half good, at least for the viewer. I thought this was really cool. The Ricky's dad and Miss Jen having a little flirtatious going on there. I thought that was really neat. I was not expecting that either. I was like, I did not think that would happen, but when it did happen, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty neat. I like that. I want to see more of that. That's pretty cute. So I hope we get more of them together. That would be really cool to see. And then when Ricky just told off Gabriella at homecoming, I thought that was a great scene because EJ and Gabriella are terrible. I think, is her name Gabriella? Her name's probably not Gabriella. I'm just thinking that. Maybe it is Gabriella, maybe it's not. Correct me in the comments. I hate her. She's such a jerk, bro. And I'm so glad that Ricky said something to her about it. I got so pumped up when he did that. I was like, yeah, thank you, Ricky, for saying something. So that part was great. And then when EJ got the punch poured on him, that was great too. Because even though it was done by Gabrielle, who, like I said, I don't like, EJ totally deserves that. EJ is terrible too. He's scum too. So that was neat to see. That was, again, another pumped up moment. Like, yeah, you deserve that, jerk. This scene right here, I didn't have much of a problem with Nini and her friend, I'm blanking on the name, singing together. I had no problem with that because it's just 2 best friends singing together, having fun and relaxing. And clearly, Nini needs this with everything happening with her, with Ricky and EJ. So I didn't think that was a problem at all. I thought that was actually really, really cool. The song was pretty cool too. It was a good song, and it was a nice, friend moment there to kind of relax Nini and kind of get her mind off of Ricky and EJ. But what was weird to me is that not only is the homecoming listening to the exact same song as the karaoke, that's kind of weird on its own, but 2, they all know, choreographed moves to that song. And it's not like the Cha-Cha Slide or the Cuban Shuffle. it's just a song, and then they all knew the dance to it. That just felt weird to me. Again, I know it's a musical, right? So I got over it. I still thought it was a great scene and fun. It was a fun song, but that just kind of felt out of place in this kind of show, because like I said, this show, when they do sing and dance, it's when they rehearse for the musical, not like this on their own where the whole school knows the moves to the dance. That just felt weird, but it was still fun nonetheless. This was just, I hope nothing comes of this. I really hope nothing comes of this. When Gabriella kissed Ricky on the cheek, I'm nervous now for the future, man. I hope this does not mess up Nene and Ricky and them getting back together in the future, because I am 100% Team Ricky. 100% Team Ricky. And Gabriella has already been enough of a jerk. She better not get in between Ricky and Nene. That would just piss me off so much. So I'm really hoping that does not happen at all. In the teaser for the next episode, it seems like that Gabriella's kind of going, lovey-dovey over Ricky, which kind of worries me. But I mean, we'll see what happens in the next episode with that. And then finally, at the end of the episode, we get this ominous thing about Miss Jen and how she might be fired or something. I don't know about that. We've been having some teasers like this throughout the season that she might not be who she says she is. Now, I have no prediction on who she could be. I have no clue. But I'm really intrigued by this, because this could, I mean, there's been some quote-unquote drama in the previous episodes, but this could be like big drama. Like, this could be like change the whole show, not doing the High School Musical at the school anymore kind of drama. Like that, it could be that big. So I'm really intrigued by what's going to happen with this, and I hope we find out next episode. These next 3 episodes are the final 3 episodes, so we're going to find out a lot of stuff. These are going to be big episodes, so it could be as soon as next episode we find out what's going on with Miss Jen. I'm really intrigued with that, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. But overall, I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was fun. I thought it was just like the rest of the episodes, had great acting, had great writing, had a great feel to it, and again, had a great song. The only time that I felt like it wasn't a good song was, I believe it was episode 3 with EJ's song. Wasn't a fan of that. Wasn't a fan of EJ's song, but other than that, all the other episodes had great songs. I'm forgetting the name of it. I'm forgetting the name of the song in the first episode, the one that Nene wrote for Ricky. I'm forgetting that, but that's a fantastic song. And then episode 2, that song was just gave me chills. Episode 3 was not a great song. Last episode, the song that Nene wrote and sang was also really good. Same with this one. So it didn't break up that pattern of it being great episodes. I'm really intrigued by everything that's going on with Miss Jen for next episode, but I'm also nervous with everything with Gabriella and Ricky, because we need Ricky and Nene back together. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on episode 5 of High School Musical, the musical of the series. Are you with me? Are you not? What are your predictions for the episodes, and are you Team Ricky or are you Team EJ? I can't imagine there's any Team EJs, but if you are, let me know why, because why? Alright, so finally here, before we get into the live chat, is the Aladdin spinoff is in development for Disney+. So, from Hollywood Reporter, Disney has hired Jordan Dunn and Michael Favney, I apologize if I pronounced that wrong, to pen a script for an Aladdin offshoot centered on Prince Anders, the scene-stealing character played by Billy Magnuson in a live-action film released earlier this year, the Hollywood Reporter has learned. So I thought that the Prince Anders character was a really funny character. I thought his scene in Aladdin was really great and really funny, so I'm excited for this show. However, I know I'll talk about this in a second. Aladdin 2 is being made, so it's not a major problem. But I don't know if you guys saw in the news recently that Mina Massoud, or Massoud, I should say, the main actor in Aladdin, the guy who played Aladdin, has not gotten any auditions since Aladdin came out. He starred in a $1 billion grossing movie, and he has not gotten one audition yet. He is in the new show on Hulu, Reprisal. I have yet to watch that. That's on my list. I want to watch that, specifically for him. But Prince Anders was in the movie for, 2 minutes? And he's getting a Disney Plus show. And yes, I know that Aladdin 2 is happening, and I'm over the moon about that. I love the live-action Aladdin. I thought it was fantastic. The acting was great. Mina Masood. I don't know. He was great as Aladdin. So I'm so excited for Aladdin 2, and hopefully Aladdin 3, and hopefully more after that. But it has nothing to do with Disney at all. It's just like the Hollywood in general, the fact that the star in a $1 billion movie gets no auditions, yet Prince Anders, who was in the movie for a total of not even 2 minutes, gets his own show in development for Disney Plus. I don't know. That's just a bit frustrating to me. Again, it has nothing to do with Disney at all, because they just are looking for more content for Disney Plus. And since they already have an Aladdin 2 movie in development that's going to be in the movies, Disney Plus, Prince Anders was a scene stealer. A lot of people seem to like his character. Why not develop a spin-off from him? That could be cool. It has nothing to do with Disney at all. I think they have no blame here. I think it's just Hollywood in general right now, where it's just a bit frustrating. That's kind of where I'm ranting there about that. But I'm excited for this spin-off. I think we need a lot, but I would like a lot more from this Aladdin franchise, quote unquote, like from this Aladdin world. I want a lot more Aladdin sequels, not just a 2, but a lot more Aladdin sequels. Maybe even some spin-offs for the genie and his family, or the genie pre-Aladdin. There's a lot of potential here for a lot of stories to tell in this Aladdin universe. So I'm happy that they're starting with this Prince Anders show. I think this Prince Anders shows could be really fun and a really neat show. And what do you think? Do you think the show could be good? Do you think it couldn't be good? And do you think, like me, it's frustrating to see that Mina hasn't gotten any auditions since Aladdin, yet there is a Prince Anders show coming? What do you think about that? What are your thoughts? So before we get into the live chat here, I just want to say that you can find me on Twitter at Dingus_Bringus. You can also tell me there and also in the comments down below, any requests you have for future topics for the show that you want me to cover specifically, whether it's any theories or rumors or news or just things you want my thoughts on for Disney or Star Wars. That's what we talk about in the future, just with hashtag Disney Dingus, so I know you want it to be on the show. You can also find me on YouTube at Dingus where I do a similar show every day to this at 3 p.m. Eastern, but instead of Star Wars and Disney, it's about Marvel and DC. So if you're interested in that, go in the description and check out that channel. And I also have Bring Us a Box, where I do unboxing reviews of toys and collectibles that I think are pretty cool. So, on to the live chat here. Now, typically, I would have a review of the day after the commercial break there, but since I already had 2 reviews, The Mandalorian and High School Musical, the musical series, then that's going to be the reviews of the day. But there's also anything you want me to review, Star Wars or Disney related, let me know in the comments or on social media so I can review it for you for the review of the day. So, what's going on, Ian Perez? Hello, thank you for tuning in here. Is C-3PO going to be in there? I assume you're talking about Rise of Skywalker. Yes, he is. He's been seen in the trailers for Rise of Skywalker. I think he has a bigger role in The Rise of Skywalker than he had in both Force Awakens and Last Jedi, which I like a lot. I think that even though this trilogy is centered around, Rey and Kylo Ren and Finn and Poe, I think it's cool that we get a little bit more from C-3PO and hopefully R2 in this movie, because R2 and 3PO, they were a constant factor throughout the Skywalker saga. And even though they weren't the main characters, right? They were still a constant factor and still had a constant roles in the movies. So they were kind of toned back a bit in this movie. So I'm glad to see that at least C-3PO is getting more of a role in this movie. And it's also something I want to address. I understand that this trilogy is Rey's trilogy. I understand that this trilogy, the bad guy is Kylo Ren. I fully understand that. But the original trilogy is Luke's trilogy. And Anakin is still what it's about, if that makes sense. Luke is main character. Yeah, Luke is the main character of the original trilogy. But it is about him, but it's hard to explain. I know what I mean in my head. It's not about him. It's about him. It's about Vader being redeemed, right? And Luke is the key to Vader being redeemed, to Anakin Skywalker being redeemed. The prequel trilogy is Anakin's movies, right? It's Anakin and She's movies, clearly. But even though this trilogy is Rey's trilogy, Anakin is the main Skywalker saga character. He is the chosen one. He's the character that the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy are about. And if he doesn't have a pivotal role in finalizing his story and capping off and wrapping up his story, it makes no sense. It doesn't have to be his trilogy for him to have a pivotal role. The original trilogy wasn't his trilogy. He defeated the Emperor. So I don't want to get into that again. I can go into that in another episode if you guys want me to again, if you guys bring that up. But yeah, just wanted to address that. Depends which version of Anakin. Well, do you mean how powerful he is? I mean, any Anakin would... not any Anakin, obviously, Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace Anakin wouldn't beat Rey. But Episode 3 Anakin would obliterate Rey in a heartbeat. Vader would obliterate Rey in a heartbeat. Vader would obliterate Kylo Ren in a heartbeat. Revenge of the Sith Anakin would obliterate Kylo Ren in a heartbeat. There's no competition. Anakin, the only character that Anakin, and even this is debatable. Like I've had debates with people on this, and you know I could be convinced otherwise, and I probably think otherwise on other days. Ask me tomorrow, I might have a different answer. The only character that Anakin couldn't physically beat in a lightsaber battle was Yoda, in my opinion at least. Could he have beaten Obi-Wan? Yeah, he just got cocky. If he waited a little bit more for the droid to move down the lava more and he hopped on to the ground and had even ground with Obi-Wan, I have no doubt he would have won that fight. I have no doubt. If Anakin went toe-to-toe with Mace Windu, I have no doubt he would have won that fight. If Anakin went toe-to-toe with Palpatine, I'm not going to say no doubt, but I think Anakin could have won that fight. I do. The only reason Yoda lost, and I say lost in quotations, the only reason Yoda lost to Palpatine was because of math, was because of science. Palpatine is a much larger person. Yoda is obviously a very teeny tiny being. So when that blast of lightning exploded, it sent them both flying. Since Palpatine is much bigger, didn't send him flying as much, so he was able to grab on and stay onto the Senate platform. Since Yoda is a much teeny tinier being, he got launched way farther than Palpatine, and since now after that, his lightsaber was gone, and Palpatine had the high ground, Yoda had no choice but to retreat. So I don't even like saying that Yoda lost, because technically he had the upper hand of Palpatine. Like, you could see, like, Yoda was like, he was absorbing that Force lightning. Palpatine was like, yeah, I got this. Yoda was like, no, you don't. He was like, he was going at Palpatine. Palpatine looked scared to death, and then he just got lucky. Palpatine got lucky in that fight. I have no doubt that he got lucky. He knew he was beaten, and then that when that lightning exploded, he just got luckier that he was the bigger being. So the only character that I think that Anakin might not have beat was Yoda. And even then, you could convince me otherwise. Like, again, I'm the biggest Anakin fan out there, but you can convince me otherwise. Like, there are definitely some strong arguments to say that Anakin could have beaten Yoda. Pre-Cyborg Vader, Anakin would obliterate Rey if it was the first time he ever touched into the dark side on his own will. Even that, man, like, even the dark side, obviously we know is a very powerful just side of the Force to draw from, right? We know that it is much easier to use and gives you much more raw power. When you can harness the light side more and better, you can beat the dark side because you're more balanced and more thoughtful. But if you're not trained, the dark side is much easier to use and gives you much more initial power. But I think any Anakin Clone Wars on, like, not even Revenge of the Sith on, Clone Wars on, could beat Rey. And maybe even Attack of the Clones Anakin. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. What's the story plot going to be? Is this a movie or TV show? I believe. Are you talking about Rise of Skywalker? Ian Perez, can you clarify that when you say what's the story plot going to be? If it is a movie or TV show? Many Thought Last Jedi was the last one. They're making one more. Yes, they're making one more Skywalker saga movie. The Rise of Skywalker. It's the sequel to The Last Jedi. It's the final movie in the sequel trilogy. After that, there's going to be many more Star Wars TV shows and movies, but none of those TV shows or movies will be a part of the Skywalker saga. So they're making a Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy, which is going to be totally separate than the Skywalker saga. All new characters, all new settings. We have more movies coming out. Even if they make an episode 10, it's not going to be a part of the Skywalker saga. And that's another thing. To go back to Anakin not being in the Rise of Skywalker, they easily just could have said that this trilogy was not a part of the Skywalker saga. They could have been open and said, "Hey, we're making more movies. We're making a 7, 8, and 9. It's not a part of the Skywalker saga. We're gonna have Luke Skywalker and Leia in it, and Kylo Ren in it." But since this is not about Anakin anymore, it's not a part of the Skywalker saga. And if they did that, I would have had no problem with no Anakin in Rise of Skywalker. I would have had no problem with no prequel connection in Rise of Skywalker. None at all. Because it's not a part of Anakin's story anymore. But since this is a part of the Skywalker saga, that's where I have the problem. Cam's World says, Disney doesn't want to acknowledge the prequel trilogy because it was around the time Legends was canon. They should have just made Legends as the main canon continuity. No, they shouldn't have. Because there was so much in Legends, and there were so many different levels of canon in Legends, that it would have been too confusing for new people coming in with the sequel trilogy to keep track of it. Legends is difficult for me to keep track of, and I've been around during Legends. I know a lot of Legends, and it's still very difficult for me to keep track of. So it's way easier for them to just say, okay, the only thing that's canon, the 6 movies, the Clone Wars TV show, and then everything we make after that. So it's easier for you, the fan, to keep track of everything. Because there were so many different levels of canon under George Lucas that it was just difficult to keep track of. And that's not the reason why they don't want to acknowledge the prequel trilogy, because there were Legends during the original trilogy. And they're clearly acknowledging the original trilogy. There was Legends during Clone Wars. They're bringing back Clone Wars for another season. They're finishing Clone Wars Season 7. So, I don't know why they don't seem to want to acknowledge the prequel trilogy. I really don't. It beats me. But it is frustrating to see it. But it's not because of any kind of Legends reason. And they definitely should not have made Legends canon, because it would just be way too difficult to keep track of. Way too difficult to keep track of. Because there were so many different levels of it, there's so much of it, that all these new people coming in with the sequel trilogy, and there are a lot of new fans with the sequel trilogy, just like there were a lot of new fans with the prequel trilogy. All these new people coming into Star Wars for the first time, all these kids coming into Star Wars for the first time, all these teenagers and adults coming into Star Wars for the first time, it would have been way too difficult for them to keep track of. Is Yoda going to be in the movie as a ghost? It's a great question. Before them not acknowledging the prequel trilogy, I would have said yes. But since it seems like they don't want to acknowledge the prequel trilogy, I'm doubting if any Force ghosts are going to be in this movie. Yeah, so your guess is as good as mine. I want to say yes, because it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for Yoda and Obi-Wan and Anakin and Luke to all appear in this movie as Force ghosts. If there was going to be a movie to have Force ghosts appear, this is that movie. Especially since Palpatine is back as the main villain, so you need someone like Anakin to teach Rey how to beat Palpatine. But I don't know, man. Your guess is as good as mine. I want to say yes. I really want to say yes, but I'm starting to have my doubts. I'm starting to doubt it, unfortunately. Cody Payne, do you need to watch the High School Musical movie to watch the show? No, you do not. If you do watch the movie, then you'll have a bit more of a, I don't want to say understanding. You can understand and follow the show just fine without watching the movie, but you'll kind of understand a little bit more about the story of the original High School Musical. You'll understand what they're going through with practice and everything. So I would say watch it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the original High School Musical. I watched it right before the show for the first time. I wasn't a fan of it. But it is on Disney Plus, so if you do have Disney Plus, if you do want to watch High School Musical, the series, which I would highly recommend because I love that show. So if you do want to watch it, I would say just watch the first High School Musical. Don't even need to watch the first or the second or third one. Just watch the first one. I didn't like it, so maybe you don't like it, but you'll have a bit of a better understanding, a bit of an enhanced understanding of the show. But no, you don't need to watch it to understand the show. You can totally not have seen High School Musical, watch the show, and still really enjoy it. Ian Perez, so the Aladdin going to be on Disney Plus. It will be. We don't know when yet. We don't know. Like, you can't even go on Disney Plus and search it up, and it'll tell you a time like some other movies. So we don't know when it's going to come out on Disney Plus, but eventually it will. Eventually it will. Once we have that news, I'll make sure to let you guys know on Disney Dingus Daily when it's going to come out on Disney Plus. But as of right now, we don't know. But eventually, it definitely will come out on Disney Plus. He also says, do you not think the new Star Wars we're going to see new characters, or is it going to be the same characters from the last movie and zero robots from Star Wars? There are many robots in Star Wars. Many robots in Star Wars. In the Rise of Skywalker, I believe you're asking about. The Rise of Skywalker is going to have the same characters. It's going to carry over, and it's going to be a sequel to The Last Jedi. So the characters like Rey and Poe, Finn, Kylo Ren, they're all going to be in the Rise of Skywalker. So this movie isn't a totally new movie with a new story, new planets, new characters. That's saved for 2022 and on with those Star Wars movies. But this Star Wars movie right here, The Rise of Skywalker, is a direct sequel to Last Jedi, so it will have characters from the previous movies in this movie. So I think you meant with your question there earlier about do we know what the story is going to be with The Rise of Skywalker? Based off of trailers and stuff, no. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I might have read a couple things online about it, but I do not want to say that because I don't. Even if it's not true, I don't want to risk spoiling it. So, just based off of the trailers and everything, and what the actors have said online, no, we do not know what the story is going to be with Last Jedi, which in a way is a good thing. In a way is a good thing because you go into it, you have no really expectations in your mind for like, okay, so this is the story. This is how I'm going to build a story around it. But at the same time, it could be a bad thing because since we don't have a story, people might create their own stories in their minds about what they want this to be. So for better or worse. But no, we do not know the story of The Rise of Skywalker as of yet. Maybe that could change. Maybe sometime in the next 2 weeks before the movie comes out, we get a trailer telling us the story of the movie. That's possible. But as of right now, no, we do not know the story of Rise of Skywalker. Based off the trailers, at least. Alright, so I'm going to wait like a minute or two here to see if anybody else has anything they want to say or want me to talk about it and give my thoughts on. And then, I guess we'll call it an episode after that. So, once again, while I wait to see if anybody has anything else to say, you can find me on Twitter at Dingus_Bringus. Follow me there. I'm quite active, Star Wars, Disney-wise as well. You also find me on YouTube, Dingus Bringus, where I do a very similar show to this every day at 3 p.m. Eastern called Dingus Daily, where instead of Star Wars and Disney, I talk about Marvel and DC, the news with that. And I also have Bring Us Unboxed, where every day at 5 p.m. Eastern, I unbox and review a toy and collectible that I think is neat. And also, as always, guys, if you're new, subscribe to the channel for daily Dingus Daily video, or Disney Dingus Daily episodes every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you're enjoying this, smash the like button down below. Let me know in the comments as well any ways that I can improve these episodes and make them more enjoyable for you guys. And if there's any specific topic you want me to talk about on these shows, on an episode, whether it be something Star Wars or Disney, something I want to get my thoughts on, a theory, a rumor, news, something you want me to explain, let me know in the comments or on social media with the hashtag DingusDaily so I know you want it to be a topic for the show in the future. Cody Payne says, what's your favorite thing about Disney Plus? Ooh, that's a great question because there's a lot of good things about Disney Plus. Disney Plus is fantastic. That's a really good question. At this point in time, I'm just, I don't know. There's a lot of great things. Right now, I'll say High School Musical, the musical series. The fact that that's on the service, because like I said, I love that show a lot. Mandalorian's really great too. The fact that they have a lot of old throwback stuff, like they have a lot of the old Marvel shows. They have the amazing Spider-Man 1994 show. Love the animated series. They have Spider-Man and his friends. That was a great show. They have the X-Men animated series. They have a lot of great older shows in there. They have, some stuff from when I was growing up, like Wizards of Waverly Place, Wizards of Waverly Place, both Sweet Life on of Zack and Cody shows. They have a lot of those shows. There's also some they don't have. There's some shows that I used to watch they don't have. They don't have one that I don't think anybody's going to remember. I'm in the Band. They don't have that. They don't have Zeke and Luther. There's a couple things they don't have on the service, but I think right now my favorite thing about it is High School Musical, the musical series. Actually, if I'm going to be more specific, my favorite thing about Disney Plus is the fact that I can watch all the Star Wars movies anytime I want to, and I can download all these Star Wars movies on my phone. That is really my favorite thing about it, and that I have 3 of my favorite movies of all time, downloaded on my phone: Revenge of the Sith, The Incredibles. As you can see, I love both, and Civil War, Captain America: Civil War. They're all in the same service, and they're all downloaded on my phone. The fact that I have all those is just technically that's my favorite thing about it. But probably, if I had to give a real answer, High School Musical, the musical series. Ian Perez, do you know if they're still making new Pixar movies instead of Onward? Yeah, after Onward and Soul, they're definitely making more Pixar movies. Onward and Soul are not the final Pixar movies. I can't remember if they've announced any other Pixar movies after those two, but don't worry, they are definitely not the final and the last Pixar movies to come. There's still a lot more to come. I'm still hoping they make an Incredibles 3. Incredibles 1 is probably, as much as I love the MCU, and Endgame is a perfect movie, same with Civil War, Incredibles is my favorite superhero movie of all time. I love Incredibles. Incredibles 2 is also really, really good. Not as good as the first one, but really, really, really good. And the ending, I think, leads itself very well to an Incredibles 3. I really want an Incredibles 3. So I'm holding out for that, but don't worry. Pixar are not Pixar. Onward and Soul are not the final Pixar movies. And I'm really excited about Onward, by the way. I can't wait for that. Onward stars Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, 2 of my favorite actors right now. And it's in a fantasy world. That sounds like a perfect movie for me, so I can't wait for that. Soul, I don't like sad movies. Inside Out, I think, is wonderfully made, but it's just not for me because it's very sad. I think Soul is going to be the same exact way. I think it's going to be incredibly well made, incredibly well acted. The animation is going to be great, but it looks like it's going to be a very sad movie, and I don't like sad movies. So I think it's going to be incredibly made, but just not for me. Cody Payne, do you think they'll pick back up with shows like Agent Carter or Inhumans? No, I think Inhumans is going to be rebooted in the MCU. Actually, I think they're gonna, with the Miss Marvel show, they're gonna reboot the characters in Inhumans. So definitely not that. Agent Carter, probably not. I think that Kevin Feige really wants nothing to do with those shows anymore, because Kevin Feige now owns all of the rights, not rights, but he has full control, is what I should say, over everything Marvel, movies and TV. So I don't think he wants anything to do with those shows. I think they're going to finish up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the final season that's coming out, since that's already shot and everything. Get that out there, and then that's done. And then I don't think, as much as it pains me to say, because Fitzsimmons, if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Fitzsimmons is the greatest TV show characters of all time. TV characters of all time. And I want to see so much more of them, but I don't think we will after Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, no, I as great as Agent Carter was a great show, by the way. If you have not watched Agent Carter and is an MCU fan and a Marvel fan, definitely watch Agent Carter. It's a great show. Inhumans sucked, but Agent Carter was a really great show. As much as I would like them to continue with Agent Carter, I don't think they will, unfortunately. Ian Perez, I wonder if they make Incredibles 3. I wonder how Edna's going to look now in a sequel to Ratatouille if they make one. A Ratatouille sequel would be interesting. I don't think we need one. I don't think there's really much story to be told there. The first Ratatouille was pretty good, so I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would definitely be excited for a Ratatouille sequel. I have no problem with it. I would go see it opening weekend. But I don't think we need one, so I don't think they will make one. In Incredibles 3, I think Edna's going to look the same. I think, if anything, if they're going to do any kind of time jump and age up the characters at all, it's not going to be much. If any, the farthest they'll go is probably make Dash and Violet adults and maybe even parents. But I doubt they'll do that too. I think if they do make an Incredibles 3, it'll take place right after the third one with the mission that they're going on, right at the end of the movie. So I think Edna's just going to look exactly the same, probably just with updated technology. Like, you can tell the difference between Incredibles 1 and Incredibles 2, the change in animation and technology. It was a bit weird for me at first because to adjust to, because I've watched the first Incredibles so many times. I can say basically every single line in that movie. That's how much I've seen it. So it was a bit hard for me to get used to the change in style at first. But if anything, that's all it'll be for Edna. Just that the change in animation style and the increase in quality of animation is just going to make her look a little bit different. But as of like design for the character, really no change for her. Really no change for her. All right, guys. So this episode's getting a little bit long. How's it going? It's going pretty good, Bick. It's going pretty good. How are you? How are you? Yeah, so this episode's getting a little bit long already, an hour and 5 minute episode, my longest episode yet, so I'm gonna cut it off here, guys. If there's anything else you want me to talk about, Star Wars or Disney related, let me know in the comments of this episode after it's done being live, so I can talk about it on a future episode. Here, I just bought a laptop. Nice. I need a laptop, by the way, too. I'm hoping to get that for Christmas, a laptop, because yeah, I need one. Anyway, yeah, so that's going to be it, guys, for episode 5 of Dingus Daily. As always, if you enjoyed, smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you are new for daily episodes at 7 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, if there's any topic you want me to cover, Star Wars or Disney, whether it be news, rumors, something you want me to explain, something you want me to give my thoughts on, movie or show you want me to review on the show, let me know in the comments down below or on social media at Dingus_Bringus with the hashtag Dingus Dailies, or Disney Dingus, I should say, so I know that you want me to cover it on the episode. If there's anything I can do to improve these episodes and make them more enjoyable for you, let me know in the comments down below. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and this has been your daily dose of Dingus.